4 pillars of GNH, and these are equitable, socio-economic development, which includes, of course, pursuit of GDP, increased GDP. 2, for a country like Bhutan that is located in the high, fragile Himalayas, ecological conservation, sustainability. 3, as human beings, what is important is a value frame, culture. So, cultural conservation, cultural preservation, and cultural promotion is the 3rd pillar. And 4th is good governance. Well, even as a poor country that we are, we have ensured, because we followed and pursued gross national happiness, which requires, as I said, equitable development, we have been able to ensure that even though we have not become rich, the little that we have is well shared among our people. The poor are not so poor, and the rich in Bhutan are not so rich. And we continue to emphasize inclusive development. And in the last 5 years, we have been able to ensure that every child is enrolled in school. That we have been able to ensure that gender equity up to the secondary education level. We have been able to ensure that every home is electrified, which is very difficult in a mountainous, rugged country like Bhutan. Every major village is now connected with motorable road. Safe drinking water supply is accessible to every home, and every Bhutanese enjoys mobile phone connectivity. These would be taken for granted here in a country like Denmark. But for a least developed, poor developing country, these are miracles that we have been able to achieve because we pursued GNH. In terms of our environment, fragile as our ecology is, vulnerable as it is, today our environment is more resilient, more diverse than it was at the time we began development in 1961. At that time, the total forest cover of Bhutan was somewhere in the region of about 64%. Today, with demographic expansion, agricultural expansion, urbanization, and industrialization, we have a forest cover of 80%. And today, Bhutan is the only country in the world which pledged here in Copenhagen at the COP15 that it will remain forever carbon neutral. A very big and burdensome pledge and responsibility, but one that every country should ultimately aspire for. We have also pledged to become a completely organic brand, meaning then that within a given period of time, every agricultural produce coming out of Bhutan will be certified as being organic. Because of our emphasis on ecological conservation, we have had to forego many possibilities, many industries that were polluting, that may rather rapidly and excessively destroy our environment, were abandoned, even though they were so very lucrative. And today again, Bhutan is perhaps the only country that has established a natural capital accounting system, or a full cost accounting system, meaning the cost or the value of our ecosystem services. And even as, for instance, even as your GDP may go up in terms of the conventional way of accounting, you may be losing out so much in terms of the natural capital, the ecosystem services, our life support system, on which we have been able to place a monetary value. Culture. For a country, small country like Bhutan, culture is important for a host of reasons. Not the least among these is political. We believe that Bhutan has survived as an independent country, a sovereign nation, despite its very rather precarious location, only because of our unique identity and the values that kept us together, the values that we cherished, the values that we felt worthy of defending, even against difficult, overwhelming odds. And so, manifest among these is, for instance, we wear this kind of clothing every day in Bhutan. We are very proud of our identity. We are very proud of our traditions. Considerable amount is spent in terms of national budgeting, resources, and so on, allocation, on the conservation and preservation of our values, of our culture, of our traditions. Bhutanese continue to be as spiritual as they were, even with the material prosperity that we enjoy. And some say that the reason why Bhutan is able to embark on this unique path, this pursuit of this balance of development, pursuit of this development model that balances the needs of the body with the mind, because of the spiritual nature of the Bhutanese people, because of the values that we have always treasured. It is there in the form of our architecture. It is there in the way in which we relate to each other. Basic values as family values are still held as very important. And today in Bhutan, as we promote GNH values, we emphasize the importance of the extended family network. Even as we emphasize the importance of community vitality. We believe that the extended family network is one of the first victims of modernization and economic development. The nuclearization of the family is something that we are consciously and mindfully trying to avoid. In the end, the extended family network is the most sustainable, the most viable welfare system, if you will, social security, because it is natural. And even as Denmark has succeeded, we believe that in Bhutan, to promote and to sustain a comprehensive welfare system may be difficult in the long run. But on the other hand, an extended family network is a natural alternative. Fourth, good governance. Well, the king was the one who introduced the concept of gross national happiness at a time when he was so very popular, revered, loved by the people. At the height of his popularity, he said that it was time for Bhutan to become a democracy. He relinquished his throne and ushered in democracy, so that it will not be the will of the king that will prevail, but the will of the people. Bhutan has now completed 5 years of democracy. And it was my party that served in the first 5 years. We like to think we've done well. And I think the people too believe that. But we lost in the elections. And I think that is good for Bhutan. I believe it is good for Bhutan, and I'm happy for it. For a young democracy, it is important that we gain, that as many of the people's representatives and parties gain as much of the experience of governance, of opposition, of the responsibilities of representing the electorate as quickly as possible. Meaning then, because this government, my government, lost, because we have another party now in governance, it means then that within a period of 10 years, Bhutan will have a large number of people who will have the experience of leadership, of governance. And also a party that had won resoundingly in the first elections and had done so well, experiencing humility, being humbled, not to take the people for granted, and then learning to respect the verdict of the people. Right now, my responsibility as the head of my party is to try and instill this sense among my colleagues in the party, that we must respect the will of the people. Don't say, oh, the people are not grateful. People don't recognize what we have done for them. People get disappointed. There's no need to be disappointed. If you really are sincere about serving the people, then it is not important whether you win or lose. What is important is that we have a good government in place. And like the Danes, we will not suffer corruption or mismanagement. Like the Danes, we will ensure in opposition that the government in power will deliver on the promises that it has made and ensure that the quality of public services will continuously improve and be delivered on an equitable basis.